Alright, welcome back everybody. This is gonna be another Leaguestarter build guide, and this time around we're gonna have Runemaster PlasmaOrb. This is absolutely my favorite build of Last Epoch right now. I played hundreds of hours in during the last patch, and I'm certain that I will be playing more in the future. Now the most requested thing on the last build guides was a little bit of gameplay, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna do a couple of echoes here, and I'm also gonna be showing the rotation of the build. We are using Runeball to generate our runes for runic invocation, and we're looking immutable order with for PlasmaOrb, and that means fire, lightning, fire, right? This character is about 14 hours old, and I have cleared all our normal monoliths, and I have actually farmed almost all my blessings with decent rolls on empowered monoliths as well. Pushed 3 timelines to over 200 corruption, pretty chill. There are a couple of items that you would like to get for mainly for for pushing higher corruption, right? But other than that, the build is very good, and you can definitely push it very far. We are not so I'm gonna address the elephant of the room first of all, because this is a Runemaster build. We all know that Runemaster right now is pretty strong and also has quite a few bugs. This build doesn't utilize any of those bugs, right? We are not abusing Edict of the Scion. We are not utilizing any Frostclaw. We are the interactions that might be getting nerfed, and anything else. The only part that right now is bugged for the build, that's generic, that's for basically every class in the build, is the generic elemental penetration we're getting from here. Now, I have talked about this on my full build guide for PlasmaOrb, you know, as a min-maxed build, and even without that node, you're still doing decent enough damage. Of course, you're losing a good chunk of it, so even if the damage that this node actually gives you gets fixed, and it gives you the elemental penetration that's supposed to be, you're still gonna have good damage and amazing clear, very respectable single target, decent tankiness, and everything is gonna be good for the build. Alright, now that we have done that, let's move on to the planners. While I'm swapping here, as per usual, we're gonna have 3 planners and a Leaguestarter filter for you. If you find this video useful though, please hit a like and subscribe to the channel for more content, and let's go to the planners. So, first one, level 45 Runemaster. This is basically the planner that you want to follow before you start monoliths. That's basically what I had, and let's talk a little bit about leveling as well. I am starting to love Fireball for leveling. We are taking Ignite, and we're taking Spreading Flames, a little bit more extra damage on Spreading Flames. So what happens is that during the early parts of the campaign, you just cast a couple of Fireballs, you're popping Spreading Flames, and that you know, cascades to your packs. Everything dies. Just need a couple of Ignite chance nodes as well, just to make things a little bit easier for a single target. I found Fireball surprisingly good for leveling up, so that's what I'm using right now. We are moving straight into Runic Invocation for leveling as well. We're starting PlasmaOrb as soon as we get Immutable Order. This is what locks your rune sequence based on the elements that you have in order on your action bar. That's why we need to keep Flame Ward as fire on this build, because we want 2 fire spells. We don't have a lot of things that can do fire. You could swap Runebolt into only fire, but that's not something that I want to do until late game, but that's another thing. Alright, now I want to talk about a little bit for the start of monoliths. You have 2 options, both of them are fine, but that's entirely up to you. So basically, once you have this passive tree at about level 45, you might be 44, you might be 48, it doesn't really matter. you have two options starting monoliths. You either keep Fireball, and for the first few monoliths, for the first few echoes, you are using this setup, and once you get your level 50 specialization, you're going straight into Runebolt, and with a few levels on the Runebolt, you just start using Runebolt as your generator for runes, and you're swapping Fireball for our Static Orb. We're gonna check that out later. Or you can just despecialize Fireball straight up and just go into Runebolt. Like, this is entirely up to you. Everything, all of the skills as usual, and the passives have progression, so that you know what to get. I'm getting a little bit extra cast here just to make our sequence and rotation a little bit smoother. Now, the level 80, this is basically what you would like to aim for during your normal monoliths, getting prepared for your empowered. I have a full setup here, level 83 as well. This tree has a couple of changes from our level 100 endgame tree, so keep that in mind. Not a lot of things though. And other than that, the skills, full setup here with our Runebolt. Runebolt does a lot of things for us, especially early on, except of course for the mana generation, which is amazing. Keep that in mind that for this to work, Arcane Restoration, you don't need to hit an enemy. So just casting Runebolt static, you will get the mana generation back from it. And we're also getting Cosmic Tapestry here with the Runewave stacks from here. We're getting a lot of flat crit for our Runic Evocation. I'm gonna talk about the skills on the final setup, because not a lot of things change, except early on, to make Dissolve and Conquer work, you need the last 2 points here. You need to have a straight chance application for this to give you the more damage multiplier. It's not a lot, but it helps, a little bit helps, right? I have a few important affixes on the gear, nothing too insane, just to show you what kinds of things we are scaling. Basically what we need on this build is intelligence. We are generating a word through various ways. We're gonna see them all on the passive tree and the skill trees in a little bit. And other than that, a couple of extra things on our affixes, just like +1 charge for Flame Ward. You need spell damage and crit multi. Those two are actually some of the highest multipliers that you can get for your damage calculations, right? Cast speed is always good, and other than that, most important part is to find idols with cast speed when you have lightning edges. Alright, let's go to the setup that you want to aim for, especially while you are doing empowered monoliths, or even before that, right? I got my setup just like that, except from Thorn of Ambition, of course, but every other unique that you see on this setup, I got them very, very early. There are two things that you need to keep in mind while doing a normal monoliths, and that's unique echo rewards and also runes of ascendance. Hand down the chest on your echoes and find as many runes of ascendance as you can. You're gonna be able to find all of your uniques very, very easily. And for the wand, Mad Alchemist Ladle, you will need to have to farm exiled mages on your echoes. Once you are feeling comfortable killing them, just always kill them when you find them, and you will eventually drop Mad Alchemist Ladle. Now, let's talk about passive first and gear afterwards. Passives, pretty standard made stuff on the basic tree. We're getting 3 points on Elementalist. This is actually pretty good because PlasmaOrb has fire hits and lightning hits. Lightning hits are the most prevalent, but both of them are nice. That's why spell damage is so important, and because we're also using a lot of different flat. But this is very important. Fire damage, cold damage, lightning damage, intelligence, and a little bit of extra resistance, and of course cast speed, attack speed, and just quality of life, much better things. Alright, Sorcerer, we're maxing out our intelligence, and of course we're getting the threshold. The threshold is the most important part here. You can have 5 out of 8, that's up to you, but the threshold is very important to get our spell crit per intelligence. Arcane momentum for extra cast speed, and 6 points here because the spell damage again that you're getting from the stacks is a nice multi, and of course we're getting the 10% movement. Now let's go for the Runemaster passive tree. We are of course getting a Sphere of Protection maxed out. This is less damage taken from Ignite, Shock and Chill enemies. We're almost always igniting and shocking, so that's not a problem for us. Maximum cast speed here, we're getting intelligence and the ward gain on direct spell cast. This is very good for ward generation. Mental catalysis, extra intelligence, and the less damage taken from crits when we're using a catalyst. We're always using a catalyst on this build, and that makes it much easier to actually cap our crit avoidance. And of course, inscribed instruments, the extra crit multi with a wand. To be fair, on this build, before you get multi-alchemy Steel Eldel, you can actually use a scepter. That's completely fine. There are a lot of good modifiers that you can get on your scepters. But once you have the multi-alchemist ladle, just max out inscribed instruments and move forward. Degree of Burning Wind. This is just for extra single target on rares and bosses. Intelligence, cooldown recovery rate, very important. But Brand of Deception is the last thing you will take on this tree, and you should only take 5 points. This is a little bit of a mistake here. I'm gonna fix it on the plans, don't worry. But we want 5 points here. We're getting a Brand of Deception. Learning skills that cost at least 15 mana, apply this brand on hit. Our Runic Invocation always costs above 15 mana, so they applying the brand, and we're taking advantage of the extra more spell damage to branded bosses right here. So a lot more single target. We're getting 2 run wards for extra flat and a couple of extra things. This is more armor with rune ward per sock. Again, we are socking, and of course Jagged Veil. Extra ward generation on crits, and more crit multi, more single target. Honestly, you don't really need a lot of clear on the build. It has amazing clear. Alright, let's talk about the setup and what do we want from items. We want Bone Cleaver Barbute, and that's because we are using Monifrost. Monifrost gives us a lot of flat cold spell damage and per dexterity. So this is basically the best helmet that we can get. It has a lot of dexterity and intelligence, both things that we're stacking. A lot of flat armor as well, very good. And the extra ward per second is nothing that we're gonna scale, but anything that gives us extra ward helps a lot. Now, other than that, Fundamental Criterion. Fundamental Criterion is an amazing Runic Invocation body armor, and we're getting the extra Runic Invocation spells. And of course, because we are using Gone as our second rune, Dexterity also gives us more damage multiplier from this. So we're double dipping on Dexterity with Fundamental Criterion and Monifrost. This was the setup that I originally had on my PlasmaOrb when I started playing the build very early on the patch, and I liked it. I think it's amazing for scaling. Other than that, Sword of the Erased is a nice pair of gloves. If you can get a couple of decent affixes, you don't need anything insane, just the attributes and the attack speed that it has alone. If you have good rolls on those, they're very good. If you get something extra, that's fantastic. You can get intelligence, dexterity, you can get cast speed, maybe a little bit of resistance or whatever if you want to help that on that department. But other than that, it's very good. You can use just a regular roll pair with cast speed and intelligence, or maybe cast speed and dexterity. That's completely fine as well. So it's a little bit of a bonus, but not something that you cannot grab later on. Now, one thing to keep in mind that Monifrost also gives us -1 physical and cold resistance per dexterity. I'm saying that because it's very important in order to cap those two resistances. We need to have cold and physical basically on our rings. I'm choosing both of my rings for cold and physical most of the time, unless you have a lot of your idols, because we cannot roll physical on our Crystal Skull. Catalysts do not roll physical resistance on the suffixes. Keep that in mind when you're doing the whole puzzle on your gear. Other than that, getting reduced damage taken from critical strikes is really good. You can get that here. You can slam it on your helmet or even body armor. But yeah, a lot of good things that you can get. Now, the best thing about that is that these uniques, they are all quite common, and you don't need any specific affixes as legendary. You can just keep going with those, and you're gonna be able to push 300, even 400 corruption, no problem, without any issues, right? Especially with the new corruption system. Because we're using some pretty powerful uniques, anything that gives you LP has the potential of actually elevating your build quite a bit. So keep that in mind. It's a very, very, very good build, especially for Merchant's Guild, but you can do the same on Circle of Fortune. I was playing basically SSF while I was doing my build, and I have some pretty good pieces. Now, to finalize, on the amulet, we want Bone Amulet for the Necrotic and the Fist resistance, and Spell Damage, Crit Multi, Shred. Those three are the most important things. Other than that, anything that you can get on the relic, you can get Intelligence, Cast Speed. Crit Multi is the best thing, that's why I have it exalted here. Don't need exalted per se, but I'm just trying to emphasize with exalted affixes what's the best affix that you should aim, right? I'm doing that on all of my guides. Now, let's talk about the skills, and we're gonna do idols afterwards. Runebolt, this is our main thing that we are spanning in here, and Arcane Restoration, Runeweaver is really nice. We only need 2 stacks here because at some point you're not even using Cosmic Tapestry. Once you have enough points on your Runebolt, you can take that out because you're gonna get enough critical anyway at some point if you get, over 100 intelligence. But early on, this is just fantastic. Flat crit, it's 9% flat crit for a runic evocation. This is more elemental damage per the armor shred up to maximum 7 on our targets. Arcanist is very, very good. We're getting cast speed and 4-second duration haste. Be a little bit faster during our echoes. Extra projectiles chance, and I always like homing. And attuned recovery is really, really cool. We're getting extra mana, we're getting extra ward. It's just very, very nice. Now, I should mention here that the end game of the build but you would like to go into a Twisted Heart of Eucharos relic. That means that you need to find the leads. We can get that from the Sork tree very, very easily, but there is another thing that I'm doing on the high-end game build, and that's I'm turning my Runebolt into fire because Attune Recovery exists. We are getting with Firebolt 75 health gain per hit, and that makes it so that even if you don't have a crazy amount of leads, you are still generating a very good amount of ward from your Twisted Heart of Eucharos. Alright, Runic Evocation. Now, I'm gonna start saying that this node right here and this node right here, they're both bugged. They're supposed to be generic more damage multiplier nodes. They're both bugged. So the setup that we're going right here is just grabbing Elemental Lore, going down here to get the Immutable Order. Author of Arcana also makes it that whenever we are manual casting our Runic Invocation, we're getting 100% mana refund, so basically it costs nothing. Of course, cooldown recovery rate as much as we can on the build. 2 points here to get flat and cast speed. This is 100% uptime, and we are also gaining Word of Lagoon. This is where we're getting the shock, and this is where we're getting the critical strike chance flat, right? 9% and 9% from Runebolt. That's 18 total. So we have basically 23 flat. Traveling here and just going to ward here just for the extra flat, 24 spell flat is very good. We do have a run on our PlasmaOrb, so that's fantastic. Now, once those nodes get fixed, whatever that is, hopefully in 1.0. I do have 2 levels from my helmet here and from my body armor, excuse me, and you can take those out and put them here if you want that, but I would still probably just keep those levels on the flat. One reason I'm saying that is because we are getting a lot of more damage multipliers from our chest and from our wand, so any source of flat is just so much stronger in this build. Now, of course, a lot can change. If we have changes on the more damage multipliers we're getting from our gear in the next patch, I'm gonna have a supplementary video, and you know, I'm gonna shape up the trees so that we can get the damage that we want. Flame Ward, pretty standard stuff. Just grab the extra charge here. Less hit damage, less elemental damage taken, duration, mana efficiency, and ward per second to cap it off. Do not convert your Flame Ward, otherwise you're gonna have to find another way to get your immutable order working. Now, Flame Rush, also fairly standard. We're getting cooldown recovery rate, we are getting the less damage taken, ward per second here, and we are proccing Runic Evocation on exit. We're also grabbing Shred because we are converting into lightning damage. This is lightning Shred. It's not amazing, you can still get the blessing from Lagoon, but this is still pretty nice. Whenever you are passing through bosses, grab a couple of lightning Shred, excuse me. And of course, most importantly, we are also proccing Static Orb at the end of our Flame Rush. Now keep in mind that Epilogue makes Runic Evocation cost quite a bit of mana, so if you encounter any mana issues, especially early on, just get a couple of extra points here on the Attune approach. The mana refund from this node actually works with Epilogue. Very important to keep that in mind. Static Orb, not a lot of things that are important here. Orbital Fulmination and Ball 19 basically for the minus 26 on the mana cost, and we are converting into cold, mainly because the shock chance from here becomes frostbite chance, so we are getting an extra element for our Mad Alchemist Ladle, and this is the most important part, we are getting lightning edges whenever we're casting Static Orb, and lightning edges is a much needed defensive layer on our build, and also we will be getting extra cast speed from our idols. Let's move on to the idols. We want as many large arcane idols as we can. Prefix, cast speed, well, we have lightning edges. On the suffix you can get quite a bit of things actually. You can get resistance, you can get all elemental resistance you can get life later on if you don't need resistances. It's gonna boost a little bit your worth from Twisted Heart of Eukaros. And the last two here, you can go for Humble if you want a little bit of extra resistance to cap your resistance, either void, poison, physical, or necrotic. You can roll on the suffixes, or you can get a stout. This is a little bit of a mistake actually, because we want one of those. Let's fix that real quick. So we want one bleed humble idol because we want the extra ailment for a Mad Alchemist Ladle. The more ailments, the more damage multipliers we're getting. Throne of Ambition is just the last thing here, basically mostly for the armor. It's not an absolute must, but I still like it. Any kind of extra defense layer that I can get on my builds, I will always opt into. Now let's go back for the blessings. From the Black Sun, we're getting a critical strike multiplier. There is also leech spell damage if you desperately need that. Keep that in mind. All resistance here. And I like capping with fortification my crit avoidance, but you can always go for the crit avoidance, just get a tier 5 on a ring and you're good to go. Flat armor and increased armor from Age of Winter and Spirits of Fire, and End the Storms, Shred line resistance on hit, just a little bit consistency on our Shred, and we are done there. Now, as I said, we need the Twisted Heart of Eukaros on the build, so make sure that you farm Ember of Corpses. Let's move into our filter here. I'm gonna give you this filter as I do on my Leaguestarters. Nothing too insane as with the previous ones. We're just generating a little bit of items. I need to speak though for one little thing. early on, because we're scaling Ignite and the Spreading Flames with a Fireball, you need something that has either cast speed or elemental damage over time, stuff like that, right? That's why I have this here with Setters, Wands, and Catalyst. You can get all of those affixes from this rule here, so they're gonna show once you swap to full Plasma Orb at about 35 to 40 levels, and the Fireball Spreading Flame starts slowing down a little bit when it comes to damage. You're a full Plasma Orb, so you want to get your critical, cast speed, and spell critical is actually the most important thing. Cast speed, spell damage. Those are the three things that you would like early on. And of course resistances to have a little bit of extra defense. Anything else that's here is just basic gear. Get your things going for normal monoliths and take it from there. I do have a full campaign run and full monolith run on the channel already. Actually, a little bit of corruption push as well. This is a very nice build. You can take it from 0 to hero. You can go into the end game, finish all content, and have a lot of fun. One of the most aesthetically pleasing skills as well that we have in Last Epoch. I absolutely love how PlasmaOrb looks and destroys things. So yeah, any change that we're gonna have in 1.0, make sure to come back to the channel. I will absolutely have a supplementary video for PlasmaOrb, or you can always visit me on my Twitch channel as well when I'm streaming. I'm always happy to talk about any build, especially PlasmaOrb. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you on the next one, guys. Bye bye.